Hi guys, so if you're thinking of getting into the hobby of collecting and painting and maybe even playing with sort of Warhammer figures, I would highly recommend this magazine. Getting started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar. As you can see, lots and lots of lovely wonderful pictures and images of both miniatures and sort of artwork. The other thing I love about this magazine, obviously it comes with a couple of figures, which is awesome, but it also shows you step-by-step guides on a variety of ways of painting them, whether that be with washes or sort of like solid colours and washes and all the other sort of stuff. But yeah, lovely sort of details as well as what sort of paints to use. And the other great thing, this magazine was only about £8–9, and say you come with a couple of miniatures, and one of which is this lovely little chap, and he's a Stormcast Eternal. I've never painted one of these before, and as I knew I wasn't going to play with him, that's why I've made up this sort of combat card looking display case for him, which I think is pretty cool. So I bought this magazine from Chaos Cards. There's a link down below, guys. Use my discount code and get 5% off when you spend £30 or more on any of their miniatures. So yeah, great value for money this. So I can't remember exactly how much it was. It was something like £8.95, I believe. But yeah, the fact that it comes with a magazine and a couple of miniatures is just great. And say this magazine is just awesome. It's full of valuable information about the game, sort of rules on how to play it, as well as obviously the kind of teams you can get. So the graphics in here are just amazing, lovely artwork. And I say, if you are new to this, the fact that it does sort of cover and shows what sort of tools you need, and yeah, step-by-step guide on how to paint these two miniatures that come with it. So I've been a big fan of, well, all kinds of orcs for the last few years. This is the first time I've seen these ones, and these are the Aurochs. Yeah, very much sort of Lord of the Rings style orcs. Yeah, must admit, I do love how they look. They look very, very fierce and intimidating. And I will be getting him painted up in another video. But so for this one, I'm going to do the Stormcast Eternal, just because I've never painted them. And to be honest, they look nice and simple and easy because they're mostly gold, which is pretty cool. So the magazine does cover, say, all the basics of well, what you do when you first get these miniatures. It shows the kind of tools you need, as in these little clippers. But these miniatures are also sort of snap fit or push fit, so you don't actually need glue for them. Although you will see me later on, I do like to glue all my miniatures, even if they are snap fit like these ones, just because, well, just because really. So yeah, cut all the bits out. Unlike some miniatures, there are instructions. You don't really need them because these are fairly simple, as there are two miniatures on here, and they are in sort of, say, large sections. So there's only about sort of like 4 or 5 pieces per sort of figure, which is pretty cool. So say you could just snap these together, but yeah, I do like gluing things just to make sure. And this is the bit where I kind of regretted saying you don't need to follow the instructions, because well, sometimes you do, as in I needed to put his head in first before sort of pushing the body on. So I guess it's kind of good that I am just dry fitting these together and not gluing them straight away, otherwise I would have had a headless body. But yeah, say bits go together nice and easy, and the great thing is the glue that I use is Tamiya Extra Thin, which basically means you can assemble things, then use the glue, because it is so thin, it just sort of seeps into all the little nooks, crannies and whatever, and yeah, it'll just bond it all nicely. So that's kind of my go-to glue. But again, for these miniatures, yeah, glue is not needed. So I actually painted both these up, because I wasn't sure how I was going to paint them, so I did them in the slap chop style. So that's why, as you can see, this guy is primed in black, dry brush grey, dry brush white. And I say this book does come with a variety of ways on how to paint, using sort of solid colours or the contrast colours, and to different sort of levels, so you can get them battle ready, which means obviously the simplest way to get them on your table, and there is a way that it shows a bit more in depth, which yeah, which is really awesome. So yeah, I didn't really need to do the old slap chop sort of undercoat bit, because I literally am going to paint pretty much most of this dude with a nice solid gold, and I'm using Retributor armour. I think I may have said it right, Retributor, yeah, something like that. So yeah, it's a nice solid colour, so it's going to go over everything. So again, I could have just primed this in a black, white, or whatever primer colour I've got really, but yeah, this gold goes over, well, a treat. So yeah, this was definitely a good sort of starting miniature if you are just getting into this. As I say, the painting of this guy, very quick, very simple, very easy. But yeah, stick around to the end, guys, and obviously I'll show you how I make the combat card sort of display for it. And also the combat card display box is on my Patreon page. So if you wanted to download the STL file, if you have a 3D printer, yeah, become a patron, help support the channel, and get hold of, well, a whole variety of the STLs that I've been putting on there over the last sort of month or so. So even though I'm never ever probably going to play Warhammer Age of Sigmar, this magazine is just, it's just gorgeous. I say the images in it are fantastic. The fact that it shows you a whole variety of other miniatures you can get and how they've been painted look great. And say it's just well worth the money for getting a couple of miniatures, just so you can sort of see how these miniatures look, whether or not you want to start one of these armies or not. They do a whole variety of other books or magazines, and I know I'm certainly going to be buying a few more of them, just because, yeah, they're a lovely thing to collect. And I say, if you are starting out and new to this, the fact that they go through everything you need to be able to paint them, as well as obviously being able to play the game, yeah, it's a nice, lovely little sort of starter set. Unfortunately, I didn't have the Calgar blue that the magazine suggested, but I did have this Macragge blue, which was kind of similar. And then they're both kind of like a dark blue. But again, this is where, when you're starting out, guys, just use whatever sort of paints you've got. Don't worry about having to buy everything straight away, as this hobby, as you'll soon find out, is quite expensive in both purchasing the miniatures, as well as the paints, the brushes, glues, everything else that goes along with it. So what I always say is, best off using whatever you've kind of got to hand. So whether it's the right sort of colour, doesn't really make any odds, as long as you're having fun with it. And yeah, you like the end result, and yeah, that's all that really matters, really. As I said, this really is probably one of the best sort of guys you can sort of start off with, because it really didn't take too long at all to get him to this stage. And then yeah, good old washes. So in this case, I'm using Agrax Earthshade, something I've not really used that much of, but you always hear a lot of other painters use it. So yeah, so I've just recently started buying some Citadel colours, just to have a bit of a play around with those. And then yeah, it's just a case of liberally applying this. Again, the book shows you which bits you're meant to do, and in this case it is all the gold armour. So the gold armour is going to have the Agrax Earthshade, and then pretty much everything else gets the Nun oil. So yeah, guys, obviously I've got these little bottle holders, as again a lot of people will sort of testify and say these are easy to knock over. So the little bottle holder certainly helps sort of keep it a bit more stable. And to knock this over, you really would need to, well, give it quite a bash. And again, the STL file for the bottle holder is, yeah, it's on my Patreon page. And then, yeah, again, liberally going all over. And this is where it's a case of, depending on how sort of dirty, dark, and shaded you want it to look, depends on how much of the washes you put on. If you've ever watched any of my other videos, you'll know I tend to go on the heavy side when it comes to washes, just because I like my miniatures to look very weathered, very worn, and yeah, they've seen some battle. And there we go, that's him done in about, well, I don't know, about 15 minutes or so. I think I spent probably more time waiting for paint to dry than actually doing the painting, which is fine. So I do like the look of these guys, because I must admit, I do love sort of paladin looking figures. So yeah, they are pretty awesome. So say, I wanted to sort of put them in some sort of display case. And basically, I'm having a go at making more and more things now in, well, 3D items. I've had a go using Blender once. It's definitely one of these packages where it's a steep learning curve, and yeah, it does take a lot of time and patience. So my general sort of go-to, just for sort of knocking up simple things like this, is Tinkercad. And the great thing is, this is some free software. It's very simple to use, but then again, it is obviously very simple in what it can do. So you can't do anything too magical with it. But certainly sort of putting objects together, squares, shapes, triangles, adding some text and bits, and then taking bits away. Yeah, this is the thing to sort of start off with. And again, I am going to be sort of making quite a few things now and then, and this is what I'm going to be using to do it with, until I can get a little bit more better and proficient with Blender. So this only took a couple of hours to print out, and there we go, primed in black, ready to paint. So I'm going to use my spray gun. And I got mine from Everything Airbrush. There's a link down below, guys. Go and check out them. There are a whole range of airbrushes, compressors, and everything else you need. And then I'm using the Army Painter War Paints. But the great thing is, though, guys, you can put in the speed paints by Army Painter as well, without having to do any sort of mixing or diluting, which is great. So yeah, simply put the paint in, and away we go. So again, guys, I am new to this. This is only about the 4th time I think I've used this little spray gun. And yeah, I must admit, I love it. It is fun to use. It is fast as well to obviously get sort of anything covered in paint. But the thing that I love the most is being able to blend paints into each other, which is one of the main reasons I've always wanted to have a go at using one of these airbrushes. And like most new things, there's a bit of a steep learning curve to sort of get into grips with the thing, how much pressure to use, what to set the PSI to, how far to have the airbrush gun sort of away from the object. But again, that's what I love about this hobby, it's all about learning, trying new things, and like you guys, watching other videos on YouTube for, well, tips and tricks and to see how, well, other people do it. So I only recently saw the Warhammer combat cards when I was looking up ideas for sort of Warhammer dioramas, and so they popped up, and I just love the idea of like a little sort of display case for one miniature, and to make it look a bit fun. So guys, if you want me to sort of do more of these, or if there's a specific look you want me to do, by all means let me know, and yeah, definitely give me any sort of links to ideas of the kind of things you'd like to see. But yeah, I certainly enjoyed making up this little box, and as I think it's a great little way of displaying, well, a single piece really. And maybe I should have a little look at the well, the Warhammer combat cards, see what sort of real cards are out there, and possibly have a go at making up some of the real cards by getting the well, the appropriate miniature that goes in it, and giving it all the proper stats perhaps. So yeah guys, if any of you lot sort of play Warhammer combat cards, I think that might be a fun, cool idea to actually make up proper cards, but make them 3D as opposed to just sort of flat cards. Yeah, let me know guys, because I do obviously like making things and painting things, so yeah, I'm certainly up for trying some of that. So as much fun as the airbrush is, there are some bits that yeah, I can't quite do with the airbrush, and obviously need to be done sort of freehand. I am going to be doing a similar sort of thing for the Auric, making him up a combat card sort of display case. But yeah guys, let me know if there's any sort of other miniatures you want to do or think I should do. Yeah, by all means leave some comments down below. You know I like to sort of see what it is, well, what it is you guys want me to have a go at doing. And there we go, there's one Stormcast Eternal, painted how the magazine said he was meant to be painted, and displayed in, well, a little combat card 3D diorama jobby thingy, you know what I mean. And yeah, really pleased how he came out. So I love the fact that the airbrush being able to do the old blending is just great, and obviously it makes things so much quicker for painting sort of larger objects. But yeah guys, I would certainly recommend, if you are looking to get into this hobby, say whether it is just collecting miniatures to paint or even playing the games, yeah, definitely get one of these magazines getting started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar, because it really does go through everything you need to know. And I say the pictures in here are just lush, they really are really nice. So yeah, and I'm definitely going to be buying some more of these magazines, because I believe there are quite a few out there, just because again you get a lovely magazine, free models, yeah, win-win really. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And a big thank you to all my patrons and Chaos Cards and Colourforge for helping support the channel. And there's another video on the screen guys, give that a click to see more of what I do. Okay guys, that's it, bye for now.